I am Shannon Wilkinson, and I am a life coach in Portland, Oregon, and I'm a recovering perfectionist striving to get to good enough.
And I'm Janine Adams. I'm a certified professional organizer in St. Louis, and I am lucky enough to be naturally good at good enough.
And we are here with Getting to Good Enough, a podcast about letting go of perfectionism so that you can do more of what you love in your life. Let's talk a little bit about why we're doing Getting to Good Enough.
Besides the fact that having a podcast with you sounds like a lot of fun.
I know. It wasn't just an excuse for us to get together and talk once a week, even
right.
though that will be, one of my favorite parts of it.
That's right. But yeah, I think we both, in both of our client bases, are dealing with folks for whom perfectionism can be a real problem.
That's right. I know you come across it all the time, and I do too. And I find that people are just not doing the things they want to be doing because they want to make sure that they get it right. And that fear of getting it wrong keeps them from doing anything. That's
right. Getting it right can be overrated if it means you don't do anything at all.
Right. Absolutely. And like I mentioned, I am a recovering perfectionist, and I say it that way because I feel like I'm sort of hoping that at some point I get over it, and I never even have the thought about like wanting to get it right or feeling the need to get it perfect. But at this point, I still often have that thought, but it rarely ever stops me from doing what I want to do.
Well, that's huge progress, isn't it? Because I don't know if you used to be stopped all the time from doing what you want to do. I'm thinking the answer is yes.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, so getting started and getting going and actually finishing at good enough is just so much better than waiting until perfect might come along.
It's so true. It's so true. And I've really noticed it a lot in, I don't know, probably the last year or so, that being able to embrace that and being not just like making myself do good enough and letting it go and then feeling bad about it, but really embracing it and just like good enough is good enough and to let it go. And that, that's sort of the next step is to allow yourself to be comfortable with good enough.
Right. And I'd love to talk for a second about how perfectionism gets in the way of people living the lives they want to lead. Because when you, on the surface, doing things really, really well seems like a really, really good idea. But in fact, it striving to do things really, really well sometimes isn't a great idea.
Right. It like we already mentioned, it can keep you from even trying, from getting started on something.
And is that because
feel like you can do it?
Oh yeah, so that's what I was going to ask. Is it because you don't feel like you know how to do it perfectly?
Well, I think it's more about there's the not knowing how to do it perfectly, but more than that, I think what happens, and I think this is happening at an unconscious level, that people don't really realize this is what's going on, but that there's a deeper fear that if you get it wrong, that will be a problem for you. That, like at sort of a base level, there, a little bit of survival instinct kicks in, and that if you get it wrong, then you're somehow, punished isn't the right word, but that there will be repercussions for getting it wrong.
Right. And everything is on a different scale, right? So if you measure everything against that, I can see how you would never start anything. But certain
Right.
things, getting it wrong, the ramifications aren't that great. Like, let's say you're making a smoothie and you're out of yogurt. You might try something else. And it may or may not work out, but you might go a little hungry, but otherwise the consequences aren't much.
Right. But you know what? So this possibly happened to me this morning.
Really?
Yeah. And I have to say that, like, there was a moment where I felt really disappointed that I didn't get it right and that I wasted these ingredients that I'm now going to throw away because it tastes basically like barf. And, so there was, but there was this, like, a momentary bad feeling of getting it wrong. Mm-hmm. But it quickly was like, well, whatever, like, I can either drink it and like suffer through the grossness, or I can throw it out and, it's not that big of a deal either way.
You can find something else to eat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Which I'm not sure I ever actually did, but that's another thing.
You found another beverage.
I did find another beverage, but not another breakfast replacement.
Right.
But it's funny because that seems like a really innocuous thing, but it's true that if, in the spirit of good enough, being willing to experiment and make mistakes is part of what helps you do it, to make it possible.
Exactly. And if you weren't in the excellent example of the smoothie, if you weren't weren't willing to take the risk and try those egg whites instead of yogurt, you would have still had nothing to eat, right?
Right.
So,
right.
You had a chance that you were going to invent something delicious, which didn't happen in this case. But there you go. I tried a new breakfast this morning. It was tremendous. I just rearranged the ingredients.
I'm so jealous. What did you have?
I just rearranged ingredients, so it's not that impressive. I was going to have a piece of toast with a piece of Munster cheese and thin sliced ham.
Uh-huh.
But instead, I had a toasted English muffin and then I put a piece of ham, thin sliced ham on each, and a piece of Munster cheese over the ham and put it under the broiler.
Oh.
So it wasn't really a new invention.
I was going to say, like, that's basically the same thing.
It was a reimagining of my bacon, of my ham and cheese breakfast, but it was different. It really was different. It made just ask Bix. It made a whole new thing.
And Bix is your standard poodle
who gets to taste everything I eat.
Yeah.
I don't want anybody to judge me for that. And the new dish had to be eaten with a knife and fork, which made me feel fancy.
Oh,
it didn't have to. It would have been It would have been messy though otherwise.
Oh, because the cheese like overran the English muffin.
Exactly. You're so good at visualizing. It was a piece of Munster cheese, so it was cut sandwich style, and it was bigger than the English muffin. So it enveloped it. Oh, it was delicious. Right. So rather than yesterday where it was smaller than the toast, which was less great.
Oh, yeah.
And it wasn't melted. Yeah.
Oh.
It was
Got
just
it.
cheese. Yeah.
So it was there, but that is a very good example of experimenting. So, instead of worrying that like it wasn't going to be as good as what you had yesterday, you tried something new and it worked out for you.
Exactly. Yep. Yep. That's just it's just a really minor example of perfectionism and good enoughism.
Right.
But people talk, you and I talk about the slogan, done is better than perfect. And our breakfast doesn't apply to that as much, but I fully embrace that when it comes to most things. Like that last 5% of effort it takes to complete something perfectly almost never pays off.
It's so true.
I believe, yeah. And
Yeah,
I feel,
and you know, imperfect is sort of is problematic on its own, because what is that, and is it actually achievable?
right, that's a good
So,
point.
you know, is it requires so much extra effort because it's not actually something that you can achieve?
Right.
You know, and so then you're still settling, but you're settling with like this huge amount of extra effort when you could have stopped at good enough and moved on to the next thing.
Right. Absolutely.
So do you have a...
Oh, go ahead. No, yes.
I was just going to ask if you had an example, like from organizing or decluttering, on what we're talking about.
Yes, that's exactly what I was starting to say, that I had an example. The one that pops to my mind, and there are many, many examples, but the one that pops to my mind is when we're working with clients to declutter their homes, help them declutter their homes. We always end up with donations. Or if you're decluttering your home on your own, you end up with donations. Mm-hmm. And sometimes clients get really perfectionist about where those donations are going to go, who the recipients are going to be. So they want their work clothes to go to Dress for Success. They want their school supplies to go to the Teacher Resource Center, etc. And when they do that, especially if they're not working with a professional organizer, it frequently doesn't get done because that's so much effort. Or they're afraid that the Dress for Success isn't the perfect recipient. You know, maybe it ought to go to a homeless shelter. And what I always encourage people to do, and what I do when we're taking the donations away, is to just take it to the easiest place so it gets done. As long as if you have a one-stop shopping kind of donation center like Goodwill or Salvation Army or Savers, we have one here called Savers, then the stuff gets out of the house and it gets into the hands of people who can use it. And what I say to clients is just trust that it will get into the hands of someone who will appreciate it. And that usually is enough to let, especially if I'm taking the donations, since I refuse to take them all over town, they'll let it go.
Yeah, that is something that is easy to let trip you up, is that you want it to go to the right place, to the best place. And really getting it out of the house and somewhere where there is the real likelihood that someone who needs it can use it.
It's good
is
enough.
What's most important. Yeah, that's good enough.
It's good enough, and it achieves the decluttering goal.
Right.
And the other thing that people trip up on a lot is that they don't want it to go into a landfill. So a lot of creative types in particular. So, we're very careful to recycle and so forth, but that can really slow people down because they don't get the recycling out. So, Shannon, do you have any great examples from your coaching practice of the done is better than perfect idea?
I do. I have a number of different examples, and I'm going to go with one that is a little bit different and may not sound like the same sort of thing, but I'm thinking about exercising. And a lot of people, when they want to start exercising, say they want to go for a walk every morning, and they think what they really should be doing is an hour-long walk every morning, but they don't have the time, or that feels overwhelming, or for whatever reason, it just doesn't happen, because that's the perfect model, is walking for an hour every morning. And so what we'll do is start with something small, like, how about you just put on your walking clothes and go outside? And then that's done. And then, when people get the freedom that, like, that's enough, that's good enough, then they can do more. So, get in your walking clothes, go outside, walk around the block. If you want to, you can do more, but you don't have to. That's good enough. And then
I like that.
Yeah, and that often will free people up to when they feel like they have the time and the energy and, everything's in place, that they can go for that hour walk. But if they try to do the perfect scenario from the beginning, it's too much and never happens.
They just shut down. Like, I can't possibly go for a walk for an hour today, so I'm not going to do anything.
Right. And so then it becomes this huge energy waste of this is what I should be doing, but I don't want to, or it's too much, or I don't have time, or I have all these other things. And so then there's a lot of sort of fighting in your mind about trying to do what you should be doing, trying to talk yourself into doing what you should be doing, what the right way to do it is, when, just figuring out what's good enough, what's the smallest amount you can do that counts, is really powerful.
Oh, I love that example. And it's especially because I'm sort of dealing with that right now, where I'm feeling rather sloth-like and just not, most days I'm doing the bare minimum or nothing. I guess, no, I'm never doing nothing because thankfully I have a dog. So at least I'm walking my dog, but not for an hour. And just this month, it's early in May, and I've started the plank challenge again. So back in July last year, I did the 30-day plank challenge and got up to 5 minutes of planking.
Wow.
Yeah, but then I stopped because the 30 days were over. So now I'm starting again, which I started in April and dropped off at the 9th. So in any case, doing 30 seconds of planking, which is where I am right now, feels like nothing. It's very easy to do if I remember it. And working my way up to the 5 minutes, which I know I can do because I've done it before, is part of the plan. But right now, 30 seconds is enough. It's done. And it's great because I know I'm on my way to something else. But even if I weren't on my way to something else, it's better than nothing.
Yep. It's so true. Well, and the thing is that you are literally exercising the muscle to be able to get to the 5 minutes physically, but you're also exercising the muscle of creating the habit to do it every day.
Right, daily habits are huge. Well, I'm sure we'll talk about those in another podcast because they're so important.
It's so true. I think we're going to be talking about habits a lot.
Yes, indeed.
This wraps up our first podcast on Done is Better Than Perfect. And Janine, do you have a takeaway for our listeners?
Well, I think embracing your inner imperfectionist, you're embracing your inner good enough, is a great way to live. And I'm very lucky that I do that naturally. But I encourage you, next time something feels hard or more complicated than necessary, to think, is this good enough? And perhaps stop.
That's great.
How about you, Shannon?
So I think that what I would like to encourage people to do is to when you're finding it hard to get started, to think about, what's the least I can do that still counts, that's good enough. So you can actually move forward on something you want to be doing. So I think that's great. So if people are doing something that starts to feel overwhelming, thinking, is this good enough? Or if they haven't even been able to start something, to ask themselves what would be good enough.
Excellent.
All right. So I'm Shannon Wilkinson in Portland, Oregon.
I'm Janine Adams in St. Louis, Missouri.
And we hope that you start getting to good enough yourself. I don't know what else to say.
I don't know either. Right. Bye-bye.